Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review, and check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast. And now your host, Micah Chrisman.
Hello, welcome to the Pray for Micah podcast, where we explore art, activism, spirituality, and our cosmic significance / insignificance. I'm here with Kyle Hollins, community advocate, and we're so glad you all tuned in. We're going to jump in and read his bio and introduce him here in a second, but just first wanted to give a shout out to the listeners, all you lovely, beautiful people who've been out there giving reviews for the show. So humbled and just wanted to read a couple of them. This one comes from Kimmy. Positive deconstruction is the tagline. Grateful to have a podcast that details legendary community builders in my city, shares powerful perspectives and necessary conversations, and uplifts the voices we need to hear.
Come on, was it Kimmy?
Kimmy.
Come on, Kimmy.
Kimmy.
Thanks, Kim.
MVP of
There
the
she
day.
goes.
Another one I'll read is from Annette. She says, Pray for Mike explores how creativity, social change, and deep questions intersect. Micah's warm presence creates a safe space for reflection as he and his guests share personal stories. The podcast blends personal experiences, intellectual discussions, and spiritual insights, encouraging listeners to make a positive impact. It bridges different topics, highlighting the transformative power of art and amplifying marginalized voices. Pray for Micah is a thought-provoking and inspiring podcast that challenges conventional thinking, fostering personal growth and societal transformation.
Deep.
Like when I read that, I was like,
Deep. She sounds like she has a PhD.
Yeah.
Like she might have higher education going on.
Yeah. I should just put that on my tombstone. Just,
right. Yeah.
If I die, the words of Annette could just send me off to the gates, the pearly gates.
Annette's a rock star. We got to meet her in heaven. Shake her hand.
Well, just want to say thanks, y'all. Like I said, if you don't mind, head over to Pray for Micah Pod on your Apple Podcast, Spotify. Give it a 5-star. If you don't want to give it that, go climb under a rock and don't tell me your bad thoughts, please. But constructive feedback's one thing. I could take that. So I can take like a 3-star.
Okay.
But it's usually like it's either the 5 stars who love you or it's a 1-star. Luckily, I haven't had any like real low, like 1-star, like actual reviews, like someone wrote something. But for some reason, I don't know, 1 or 2 people gave me 1 stars on my Spotify. They don't actually write a review on Spotify. It's just like a rating of
right.
So
those are people that give like Yelp a hard time.
You know what I
mean?
Like they don't even leave there's no way to leave a comment on Spotify so they just gave me 1 star. So I like rallied some friends and I was just like, hey, I don't know, some people are out there
coming for me. They're coming. And then those are the people that get mad when there's like 4 ketchups and not 5 in the bag. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
I asked for 3 ranch,
right?
Sir.
Yeah.
You give me.
It's okay.
And I get it. It's not for everybody, but I was just like, man, how did I get this low? So thank you all. Thank you all for rallying to the cause and for helping uplift the stories that we're trying to share out here.
Here we go.
On to our guest. We have Kyle Hollins. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Lyrik Institution, a cognitive-based program in Kansas City that allows its students to master in the creative arts of their voices and take part in paid internships to become market value assets. Kyle has traveled a road that is all too common to men and women that come from humble beginnings. He went through homelessness, drug sales, gang life, which landed him incarcerated for 90 plus months. He is now a seminary student, an attributed writer, and founder of Exile Promotions and Consulting, along with the Lyrik Institution. Between teaching, public speaking, and using the science of cognitive behavioral therapy, he's now able to give back to a community from which he felt he took so much from. Kyle, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for that intro.
Yeah.
That was like That was good, bro. That was like, I felt like, Star Wars has the thing coming down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, you were killing it, bro.
Okay, good. I'm trying to like give it emphasis and try not to sound like I'm out of breath because 5 minutes ago I was like panicking about lights. So he sees the real side. If you're on the YouTube side, you can see.
No, it was already put together. He had it already worked out. When I got here, everything was exactly. All I did was sit in the chair. The mic swung in and smoke just came out. A dove came from heaven and landed on my shoulder.
Praise be.
Praise be.
I wish it was. I wish it was as miraculous as you were saying. Because there was traffic. I was like, I set up the lights and everything, and I'm like, I've got it kind of down. There's been times in the past where like I look at past episodes where I'm like drenched in sweat, and I'm like, oh, that was an episode where I was like still learning my equipment, and I was like here for an hour and a half beforehand, panicking, like trying to get. It's not recording. It's not capturing it. So thanks for the compliment.
For sure, man.
At least I was able to read it and give it emphasis and not sound like I was out of breath.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. This is actually one of the best setups I've had, bro. Like,
really,
I've had like big, illustrious things, bro. But like, as far as like the sound, the quality, and
like
all
for a
that,
home
bro,
setup kind of thing.
Yeah, bro. This is spot on, bro. Like, you're doing your thing.
Well, shout out to Big Money TT.
Big Money T. Woo.
That's Tommy Studios. That's his nickname. Is Big Money TT. That's his. That's his Florida nickname. So he's the one who's letting me use his basement. So yeah, that's a little inside scoop to Tommy.
There you go, Tommy. Big T.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
Big T with a Pac-Man game.
He's got a Pac-Man game upstairs.
These knees.
Yeah, keep saying that one day I need to pay him like studio rent for having it set up down here. I rate his fridge for the sparkling waters and offer it to my guests, and I'm just like, well, Tommy, send me the bill whenever you're ready, but that day hasn't come yet. So that's a good man.
When the money comes in.
Well, again, he's got big money, so
there it is.
Oh man, so yeah, we met Kyle when. Well, for our guests who don't know, we were introduced through a project I did with my work, Be Great Together / DocuCourse. And DocuCourse is like our narrative storytelling kind of documentary series. So if you guys want to go check that out, it's docucourse.org. And we interviewed you as part of our Returning and Redemption kind of article series in preparation release of our documentary Returning and Redemption. And I just really thought your story was powerful, man. Yeah, we did like a virtual interview, and wrote up an article for a website, so you guys can go check it out, read it there. But also we're going to hear some of his Kyle's story here today.
You know, if I record, like, this is a dope situation.
Yeah, dude, record.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I might got to TikTok some of this. Like, this, if you guys aren't watching this and you're just listening to it, tragedy, yeah, bro. Like, I really love how bro got this set up.
Thanks,
so I'm gonna try to set this up real quick. But yeah,
that's a big compliment. Yeah, please. Yeah,
I don't get an opportunity to do cool stuff all the time. So
says the guy who's out here public speaking, doing amazing things in the community. You're on TikTok. I see your TikToks. Okay, man. Just talking to the youth.
How you feeling about those, man? Like, they spook me. TikTok spooks me.
Well, I mean, the whole platform, everything's scary about it. But it's nice to like see friends and folks I'm connected with who are out there just using the platform to get their voice, get their message out. I think some of the stuff you're saying to the youth is really inspirational, and just kind of give them practical life advice and inspiration around their faith journeys, you know? And so
it's a gift and a curse, man. It's a gift and a curse. So at first I used to like view watch all the time. You know what I mean? I've learned early on, like, pass up the comments. Like, you're going to lose your mind in the comments. When I first kind of started, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal when nobody really watching. But then, like, you get that one big spark, and it goes, and then people are really watching. And then now you're up for grabs. Anybody can say anything. And so it was just a humbling experience. I don't respond to them. I'm spooked. You know what I mean? Like, I see them and I acknowledge them. There's a lot of things people are going through out there, and one thing that this work has taught me, and even my education in this journey, like people that are hurting uh sound very angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They sound very angry. And people that just don't understand, sometimes people just don't get it. You know what I mean? And you got to have grace for them. And I think that humility along my journey has kind of prepared me for the comment section, because I've seen some crazy stuff. But
Oh, I can only imagine.
mm,
TikTok's, the comment section is just a cesspool of, like you
yeah,
said, toxic people in their mom's basement, just
yeah,
staying up all hours a day, just trying to get their dopamine fix. And unfortunately, that dopamine fix is just like, let me shit on this person, shit on this
right.
person. And it's like, what an existence to have if that's your
Mm.
life,
Do you kind of go through that with this?
No, no one cares about this show. No one's watching this thing. No, my whole thing is,
It's gonna come, bro.
oh yeah, no, I have more people who are just listening, streaming it, like
Gotcha.
on the platforms. But when I find time in my day-to-day life to make little snippets for TikTok, usually like per episode, I'll try to make 1 to 2
Mm-hmm.
videos, like short clips of the whole interview.
Gotcha.
But I just don't post regularly enough in that format,
Mm-hmm.
on TikTok to like make little snippets. And I probably could if I was just recording myself, just
Mm-hmm.
talking and stuff. But like I said, I do this professionally full time for my job,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm always on. So for my own mental health, I'm like, I
Gotcha.
like doing this and I like interviewing people. And if it got traction and people start hating me, out of the blue, then that's cool. I don't have time, it feels like, to like I said, I'm already making so much social media content for my regular job
Right.
that it's
Right.
like
Right. Right.
to sit down on my computer in the evening and then, okay, I need to make some
Like go to
podcast.
work again.
I need to make a TikTok and I need to tag the person and
Yeah, because it's a thing.
yeah. And so that's what I'm like. I always try to promise like, hey, I'll at least have 1 to 2 clips per guest.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll tag their profile just to get their stuff promoted out there. But yeah, like my ride or dies are following me, but
There you go.
none of the haters yet. So
Listen,
we'll see.
you're not missing anything.
And I feel like your format, you're like you said, you're setting up and you're doing it in these kind of settings where you're already engaging youth on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're recording it versus, this is an hour and a half thing, that I have to like
Chop it up.
yeah, I do it once every 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
kind of deal.
Got you.
Yeah, one of these days, I'll get big enough. I'll have like a little minion person, some
There you
like
go.
savvy like Gen Z person,
Mm-hmm. There you go.
who will just like make clickbait out of my stuff, and that would be the idealist thing. But until then, I'm just like a year and a half later of doing this show. I'm just happy that things work, lights are on,
Mm-hmm.
mics record,
Right.
and I put out the episode. So
There we go.
yeah,
We're gonna make one. We're gonna make a fire one.
yeah. Basically, I'm at the point where I'm like, narrow it down from 8 hours of editing. I'm like, how do I make this more efficient? To like, okay, like I used to have 2 camera angles, and then I'm like cutting back and forth, and there's
Mm-hmm.
programs. And like I said, if I had a little sound person in the back, they could be like between me talking, you talking, click a
Mm-hmm.
button, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Like I have to be conscious while, like, yeah, I'm just trying to like master the art of interviewing and like doing all that stuff. So
I got you.
a little behind the scenes for folks who do this, podcasting and stuff. It's just like, yeah, it can be a lot of work.
Yeah. Especially people that are kind of getting into the game, starting and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
I think this information is going to be pivotal. Like, because even with my young adults, like we went after this grant for all this podcast equipment and stuff like that, and I ended up putting like the pause on it because at first I thought it was just plug up a mic, plug up a camera, plug up a light or two, and just take off. And essentially, it is, but like you're competing against like people that really do it for real, and
Right.
like even the quality of this mic, you know what I mean, versus some of the mics that I've been on, like a stage mic and a podcast mic aren't the same, so like it's a real thing, man. And I think this is a great opportunity if anybody's listening, for the people that are listening that want to get into the podcast industry, like take heed, man. It's not for the weak.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like doing like switching back and forth, like,
Right.
and then promoting it and getting it out, like all of that, like just a video. So like I can have one of my staff, they could record me talk to some kids or something like that, right? That's like an hour. It's like 45 minutes long. You know what I mean? 30 minutes long. So then I have to go in and find minute clips. I gotta find 30-second clips. like I have a day for marketing. Like I have a Tuesday is my day for whatever marketing, whatever videography, whatever's anything.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a real thing. So beware.
Again, if you're gonna just set up in your basement and just do some kind of streamcast kind of thing, then it can get easier. But
Right.
when you want to on my show, I was like very adamant that I tried doing some test runs where it's just me talking to a deal, and like, well, maybe in between episodes I can do like a 10-minute, 15-minute deal where I talk to camera, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I don't like that. I was like, I'd rather talk to people and
for sure,
for than trying to make a script or trying to, I don't know. Again, maybe one day. But yeah, man. Want to hear more about because we've kind of alluded to the idea that the youth and all the stuff you're doing at the Lyrics Institution, but if we could like zoom back in time to like your younger years, just kind of hear like some of what were your life experiences that kind of led to the work. And so like I don't want to like spoil it, but like you've been incarcerated. Well, we said that in your bio, like for 9+ months. And so just know you've had an incredible journey. And that was part of the reason why I was like, oh, I gotta have him on. I want him to share like some of his story and just see how that's come about, like the incredible work you do. So So start when you were born.
Right.
Start from the very beginning.
It was a cold room when I came out. It was a little dark at first. There was these two things that were on the side of me. I think they called them legs. But
you saw the light.
I saw the light. You know what I'm saying? And then, smack on the cheeks. But no, I grew up. I had my mom and my dad in my life. They were married, but as far as I can remember, I don't remember them being together. And they did their best to raise me. Young adults. I was my dad's second, my mom's second. But they had, they were young in their early, I would say late 20s, early 30s. I'm trying to figure it out. And fast forwarding to like, just I think sometimes we skip over the origin story, right? Like we skip over, we go straight to I was in the streets, I was doing this and this and that. But like the more that I do this work, you can't get there without the origin, right? You can't get there without the dysfunction that happened early on. And I'm not gonna call it dysfunction in the sense of it's knowingly dysfunction. It was just, Kansas City post crack epidemic, you know what I mean? No, not even post, like in crack epidemic, coming out of the heroin epidemic. The more I did my research, I realized like they were battling chemicals at an all-time high, you know what I mean?
Sure.
So, broken homes and maybe even I want to say 20 years even before that, blacks were just able to move past like 18th Street and 27th Street. So my family was one of the ones that kind of moved out south. They were the first ones, first black families to kind of move out south. So, that's it's not like we take for granted integration because we want it so bad, but like integration took time, and you're introducing people to different cultures, and how much of my culture is the one that I should be representing, and how much should I be transitioning into? That's a big issue. That's a big struggle for any civilization, right? And I think sometimes we look over that era and just say they should have got it together, or black and white, Hispanic, or whatever. That it was a rough time. So and then introducing the crack epidemic, it just kind of blew everything kind of off the charts. But just dealing with that, and my parents and dealing with that, kind of being born into that towards the end of it. I was born in 87, so late 80s. Just spent a lot of time, with my mom, close-knit family, and but drugs tore it up, man. Tore us down. Like, I don't know. Like, so family ended up separating, moved out. So it was just me and my mom for a while, me, my mom, and my sister, and then my dad came along. Well, he was always there, but more so like he was trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? Trying to figure it out. I would see him every other weekend. It was, how that goes when parents separate.
Sure.
So just kind of raised by my mom. And I don't think that we really understand. I don't want to be like, I don't want to say this. I got to be politically correct. I got a whole organization
Yeah.
to go back to, right? But we're different. I got to stand. I got to respect and give credence to my mom. Like, genders are different, and my mom, you know, emotionally, um, intellectually, my mom's a psychiatrist. I mean, like she's brilliant. Um, but just being raised majority of the beginning of my life, you know what I mean, like that left me a little bit more emotionally inclined to deal with my emotions differently than if my father was there to kind of shape and navigate how I dealt with my emotions. Um, and it really affected me growing up. It really affected my identity. I struggled with who I was, and not only do you struggle with like who am I as a black man, right? But who am I as a man? But then like why am I not as aggressive as everybody else? Why am I not so assertive as everyone else? My mom can only teach me what she knows.
Sure.
And then I ended up getting hit by a car when I was like in the third grade.
Oh,
Crazy
shit.
story. Broke my leg in 3 places. Right.
Oh my God.
Whole right side of my leg. Did some time in the hospital, body cast, homeschool, all of that. And then I got the chance to live with my dad, and I was introduced to masculinity, and it was like culture shock. It was culture shock. I didn't have no idea. Like, I see my dad on the weekends, it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then it's like, whoo, hey, big dog, like, this is serious. You're
like
intense.
the
Bro.
toughen up type
Yeah,
thing,
it was like
stuff.
instantly. And then he couldn't even understand half the stuff that I was doing. You know what I mean? He struggled with it. I remember he would always say this, who taught you that? Like, why do you think like that? As a behaviorist now that understands cultural design, like I was shaped into it. I was shaped. I was birthed into it because of the lack of it. So it kind of it spun me out of control for a second.
So how long were you staying with him? Was it just when recuperating from your injury, or is that like a different?
No, so
time?
I was with my mom for the recoup. When I got out of there, I started my 3rd grade year. So I was with my pops for my 3rd, 4th grade year, and went back with my mom's in my 5th. And then from 6th, probably until like about sophomore year, I was with him. So it was just like, poof, hello, masculinity. Blew my mind.
And would you say it? I mean, maybe at any point of life we can try to pull out the kernels of the good thing that might have given us, but overall, did you feel like it was like did you appreciate more of the sensitivity and the compassion that your mom, or did you need like mixture of both? I guess like was it all together like toxic masculinity? Just like
I didn't really understand it until I got older. I didn't really understand it until so I grew up in the church. But I didn't really understand it until I switched from knowing God to following God. Like once I made that big switch, then I understood the roles. And once I understood the roles, I understood why my dad did what he did and why my mom did what she did. So I think American culture creates hyper masculinity. I think we call it toxic, but I mean, it's toxic because we don't like certain parts about it. But it created hyper masculinity, and you can't get that. Like it's like, let me speak for myself, right? Like I just didn't get that from my mom. So I looked at my dad like he was the bad guy. I was always mad at him. It was like I thought he was like the evildoer of the world, and the more I learned about dissidence, and so like anytime you get held accountable for something, it creates a thing called dissidence in us. And it's just the awkward feeling, the bad feeling of accountability. It could be like you're wrong and still get called out. It's that feeling where you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that anytime somebody holds you accountable or pulls your coattail when you do something wrong. So my mom being the nurturer would more so nurture the behavior or nurture me until it was like out of control. And then she's like irate, you know what I mean? But it took so much to do
all right,
that.
I'm getting the paddle.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But my dad's like, you got 2 times, buddy. And that's it.
Yeah.
So but he shaped the emotions and stuff that I had. And going through it, I couldn't stand it because I thought that my mom's way was the foundational way because I spent so much time with her. I've understood life through her. And then getting introduced to my dad's way of life, it was just a culture shock. And
Mm.
If I would have understood to lean into it instead of rebel against it, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in right now at all, right? But God has his way of working things out. So um ended up going through life, and like now more than ever, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful because when I look back at it, he gave me an advantage.
Hmm.
He gave me an advantage, man, and he gave me work ethic. He gave me discipline. He gave me the need to articulate things. So my mom was more educational. My dad was the disciplinarian. So
Gotcha.
um, like I was the hooked on phonics kid that could read. Like I had no problem reading, but I was going to. Oh, you're in encyclopedias, all of that. Like I was. So she created my ability to sit in a lecture, right?
Right.
And then my dad created the discipline to say, like, yo, sit down, do your work, don't move from here until it's done. You're responsible for your family. He takes care of his mom now, you know what I mean? And so he taught me those type of things. So I'm super grateful for the journey. I just had to grow up and realize like there's no rule book. I wasn't touched. You know what I mean? My dad was extremely aggressive with me. That was one thing that I had to shape and mold with my own kids and struggle with it sometimes now. But no, I wouldn't trade it for the world, man. It prepared me. It prepared me for especially when I went into the streets.
Yeah, and it's amazing just when you realize like how much every parent and everybody's just like, yeah, we weren't prepared for this. Like, we just had to kind of make it up as we go.
Right.
And then you realize how much of what their habits are is what their parents did, or like, I don't know, like it's just, everyone's got good intentions and like, but then sometimes we just react in a certain way. And it's like, oh yeah. Then I've heard time and time again, like when I did this or that, it's like, oh shit, that was my dad. Like my dad
Exactly.
did that to me. And then I said I would never do that. All right. But I
And
know
there's a lot of things that I said that I wouldn't do, that I would never do. Now that I have kids, I'm like, oh, that's why I did it. And I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it too. You just don't, you're a kid. You don't like what you
right.
don't like. You know what I mean? I don't want to
Sure.
be told no. I want to drink pop all day. You know what I mean? I don't care about my teeth, my enamel coming off,
So you're not one of those we don't say no in our household. We try to offer other alternatives or whatever alternative parenting. That's like we don't say no.
I do not believe in opinions. Like no, there's too many opinions. No, so
let's negotiate why you can't play in the streets.
Oh my god,
let's have a conversation.
No, and you know what? I get so much flack for that. I get so much flack, but I'm like, all right, so who's going to bond you out? You tell me who's going to bond him out? Because I've seen it. I've seen what it can turn into. You know what I mean? Being incarcerated, in a facility with 1,100 people, and you're looking at it like, yo, we all carry some of the same traits. We all carry some of the same traumas and the same struggles and stuff like that. And it's like, and then look at the rate of how many men that are incarcerated don't have their fathers in their lives, right? And then on top of that, how many weren't raised with their mothers, that were just raised by whoever was the responsible person that was around at the time. So like a lot of these men that are out here, a lot of these men that are going through, they're first time fathers. They're trying to figure it out. They're the first one. Like if we start civilization all the way over from the ground up, right? That's kind of what some of these men are doing. And then think about Black culture, right? We were kind of just reset about 500 years ago, right? So we're struggling with identity and culture. On top of that, now I've got to figure out how to be a father on top of figuring out who I am too. Like
in a Kansas City that's been segregated, and like you said, all the you can't ignore the social and racial constructs and everything that's been like really holding our city back as a whole. And that's the thing that people don't realize, like systemic racism, all that shit. It's like, oh yeah, it's a problem for everybody. But when you're talking about like in the Black community, it's like, I would argue that we're still trying to integrate, when you talk about like, the truce is the dividing line. Now it's like, prospect. And it's just like, we're still dealing with the ramifications of shit that was decided, hundreds of years ago and even decades ago, just recent decades. And no, I feel that for you, man. Like, when we talk about like, where's everyone's fathers? Everyone's like, well, Black men should just rise up and be better fathers. And it's like, well, when there's the opioid crisis, like it is now, guess what? Now there's all these government programs. They're helping the white families, these communities, but it didn't happen during the crack epidemic, and We talked about that all the time at the health department when I worked there. Just like there are systemic issues and racist policy that are like hindering communities, and it's like, well, we just don't have the money for them,
Right.
to like deal with that. And so then our prisons are overpopulated. Well, guess what? We'll just build more prisons. It's like, that'll solve it, like it's just.
And the prison system, the structure of the prison system is flawed because it doesn't do it believes in rehabilitation. So to our conversation, so let's take the race part out first, right? If your father was not there, you could have 10 years, 10 generations of fathers in the house, right? So there's two type of versions of this, right? You could have a single mother, single father raising the kid. That's better, right? But the kids that grow up, like mother was married, dad was like mother and father were married together, and that's a different dynamic. Like that's like you're seeing struggles, you're seeing overcoming arguments, you're seeing emotional intelligence, because just what it takes to stay married. You know what I mean? It's the most redefining thing that humanity could ever go through is two people to come together, two horror stories, Freddie and Jason, you know what I'm saying? Because we bring in trauma together, right?
Right.
To come together and figure out how to sustain life together. You know what I mean? That in itself is a miracle.
It really is.
Right. So to see that's like one of the best demonstrations of social emotional intelligence just in the household, right? So if you don't have that in there, you have two parents that are co-parenting and doing it well, you know what I mean, or struggling through it, right? That's another dynamic, right? But then when you are actually starting from nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like absolutely nothing. Like I don't even know what having a dad is like for myself. So how am I going to be a dad for somebody else? So I'm going to watch all these TV shows and read these great books and listen to all these people and you can conceptualize what they're saying, but you don't have the wisdom from behind what they're saying. So you're practicing, right? And you're going to take and you only know what you know. So you're going to take what you know, limit it, and then make it as if it's infinite information and put it into your kid, right? And then when they struggle with social interactions, right? Like now it's like this big, oh my God, I don't know where it came from thing. You know what I'm saying? So now let's add the seasoning of systemic racism. Let's add the seasoning of redlining. Let's add the seasoning of education disparity. Let's add the seasoning of, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like these things create these pipelines not only to prison, but they make a pipeline towards poverty. You know what I mean? And poverty is over time, poverty is shifted from being something that is specifically about finances to a way of thinking. Now people are stuck in something that they don't even know that they're stuck in. They don't even have a conceptualization. They think because they got an iPhone and some Jordans, they're not in poverty. I'm like, yo, my G. Like if so I gotta ask my kids this all the time. I'm like, so you're not in poverty, right? They're like, no, I'm not in poverty. I'm like, okay. So how many people in here have walked down the street and seen a prostitute? Like 2 or 3 hands. Okay, so like how many people have walked down the street and there's more than one vacant lot on their block? A couple people raise their hand. Okay, so how many people, mothers or fathers, have not been in their lives due to incarceration? A couple people raise their hand. And then I'm like, well, who has the drunk uncle? Right? A couple people raise their hands. Who has the cracked out auntie? A couple people raise their hands, right? Like, and then somebody else jump up and be like, well, everybody goes through those things. True. But how many people raise their hands multiple times for all of those things? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now we're talking about a whole different thing though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So getting them out of the thought process, like, yo, this isn't normal. Because I heard a wise man say this one time. He's like, it's worse. The worst thing that could ever happen is the oppressed thinking that they're no longer oppressed, right? The oppressor wants to oppress the oppressed so long that the oppressed no longer think they're oppressed. So now we're at this place where like people are okay with broken windows and trash and vacant lots, and they're like, yo, this is just how it is. My mom, like, you're actually walking over it. You're walking over degradation. You know what I'm saying? It's not in your mind to pick up the trash like, you don't even think to clean it up no more. You know what I'm saying? That's systemic, bro. Like that part of the thought process has to be shifted. And once we start shifting those core thought processes, man, I'm talking about you're asking for cheese on a cheeseburger. It just comes, all this other change comes with it. So that's why I struggle with the notion, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, because there's a lot of people that don't even got boots on. You're telling us to pull ourselves up by the socks. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I don't even see the shoe on my foot, bro. Like, so that's my soapbox, man. It's just,
hey, I'm here.
It's one of
for
those
it.
things,
Yeah.
man. It's one of those things that, that's what part of my work behind.
And so when you were like, I guess kind of backtracking to recuperating after your accident, and you were kind of sharing about how, though you can look back now and see it as this positive influence, that your father kind of presented this like disciplinary kind of trying to course correct or keep you on it. There was like a rebellious side that wanted to kick against that. And so I'm curious, like, what was like the moment that like family or community that you were part of, like how did you get, I guess, roped into the gang life? I guess would you feel like it was part of the systemic issues we're talking about?
Yeah. Definitely. I didn't. So I use this story in my programming. It's about a little kid, and he grows up in his mom's and his dad's house, right? And they teach him love, care, kindness, take up for others, be patient with people, teach him all of these great core values. This is a great kid, right? He goes out to the basketball court when he's about 13, 14 years old. He's hanging out with his friends. Some guys come on, they start picking on his friend, right? So he goes over to the guys like, hey, man, stop. Like, let's be friends. Let's be cool, bro. You know what I'm saying? And they beat him up, right? They beat up his friend. They beat up him. They jump him. They videotape it, put it on Snapchat. Like, it goes viral, right? So he picks himself up and he goes home. As he walks through the door, his mom's like, hey, what's wrong? And he walks right past her, right? And he goes to his room and he slams the door and he lays on his bed. And he gets on there and he's watching the Snapchat, watching all the comments and just getting slammed, bro. And then he just rages out and he just throws his phone and he turns on the music. And then on the music that he's listening to is a song called No Smoke, right? And these people don't want no smoke and no new friends and all of this type of stuff, right? This rhetoric that goes in your head. So what ends up happening, what the points that I want to pull out to the story is, two people in the household told him what was right. But when he went into the world told him something was wrong. So now it's minority versus majority. And majority, when we're young, we tend to think that majority is right. So when he goes out into the public, right, like the majority tells him that it's not cool to be loving. It's not cool to be kind. It's, you gotta fend for yourself. Don't take up for the weaker guy. Be the stronger one and leave the weak the weak. So he leaves that and then goes home, and then it automatically takes course, right? The mother says, hey, how's it going? He walks past her. Now disrespect has been introduced, right? He slams the door. Emotional intelligence has now been an issue. He's watching it on Snapchat. Now he's being reinforced with the music, because now everything that he's hearing in his music isn't just fun and fanciful, like, oh, it's over there. Now it's really close to home. This music is about me. Now you just created a cultural design. So that's what happened to me. My mom is when I was growing up, my mom was a drug counselor. You know what I mean? And my dad was a sergeant in Jackson County Jail, and I turned out to be a drug dealer. Well, because when I went out into my community or hanging out with my homies and stuff like that, because I never went to an inner city school at that point in time, I talked different, right? And at that point in time, it was, you talk white, right? And I didn't know that it was like, we all talk white. We speak English. You know what I'm saying? Like, none of this is our language, right? So at that time, I took it to heart. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And what ended up happening was I had an identity crisis, right? Like, I didn't know, like, because I went to Raytown South. So because I went to a diverse school, I didn't know, like, what you guys are doing isn't what they're doing back here. You know what I'm saying? So like, back here, it seems like there's more money, there's more authority, there's more power here than it is over here. I'm going to choose this. You know what I mean? So that's where the rebellion ended up happening, right? They used to call me white boy Cal, right?
Really?
Yeah, because nobody could say Kyle. Nobody can say Kyle. It's just struggle. It's a struggle in my demographic. It's just nobody can get those words together. It's just Cal. Just CALCOW. It's a thing, Hey, but my name is definitely Kyle. And there's actually, this is a public service announcement. I'm Black. if you can't see me.
Right. If you're on YouTube, you can see
You can
Kyle.
see me? All right, yeah. There are actually black people named Kyle. Just gonna put that out there. Multiple. I just heard that there was like a conference in Texas for all the Kyles. All right.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I was like, I was thinking about that. There's like a whole thing.
Yeah.
All the Kyles
It's
get
a
together.
Thing. We're a thing. All right.
You should go sometime.
You know, my mom. I know. I should. I'm going. It's definitely a bucket list, bro. It's a bucket list. So like, what? This is how crazy it is. My mom named me Kyle because she wanted me to get a job.
Really?
She's like, Kyle, yeah, I need you to get a job.
Well, isn't that kind of like, like I have friends
Can't be
that
germane.
Like, have Chinese parents and they name their kid Steve. Like it's the same kind of thing. It's that it is the systemic problem of white culture, trying to like, well, you're gonna get the better jobs and the callbacks, and it's true. Like, if I use my nickname this and not my full, name that my parents gave me, I'm more likely to get callbacks. But then there's that like internalized racism that happens, right? Like that idea of like, well, I guess I'm being called a white man by my peers. The
struggle's real.
I'm sorry that happened, dude.
No, it's all good, bro. It made
I know it's part of your growth and your journey, but it still sucks, and it's like, well, it's
because everybody doesn't make it out.
Yeah,
everybody doesn't make it out, man. My belief system tells me I was designed. I genuinely think I was designed for this work. Like Joseph's story designed. You know what I mean? Like if Joseph wasn't sold to the Egyptians, he wouldn't have been able to speak it. If he didn't know how to speak it, he wouldn't have been able to rule the jail. If he didn't know how to rule the jail, then he wouldn't have been able to speak Egyptian and tell the story when he got into, Pharaoh's palace. Like if he didn't know the inner workings of the governmental, like he had to go through the journey. Like, so if I didn't learn the educational and lecture component from my mother, then I wouldn't have been able to be as astute as I was when it came to researching and studying. If I wasn't as disciplined and went through the trials and the tribulations that I went through as far as with my father, I wouldn't be the disciplined man that I am today. If I didn't go through the gang culture, I wouldn't be able to articulate the struggles of gang culture and why we arrive in gang culture. If I never went through poverty, I would never be able to. So like right now, like I am. And I know that I'm the authority in the room, not because of one or the other, but because of the blend. Like you can read all the clinical books that tell you how to do cognitive behavioral therapy, neuroplasticity. You can read Samonow's Inside the Criminal Mind. You could do all of that. You could be one of the greatest minds in this field. But as soon as I walk in, you were second. You're second because lived experience is a teacher in itself, and it just gives me. And then on the other side is if I had all lived experience and not the intellectual way to explain how we got to the other side, then I would just be on one side, right? I would still be limited. But God, like when I say literally engineered, man, when I ended up going to prison, I ended up going. So I was introduced to cognitive. So my mom is a psychologist, right? Jump start there. So I once I realized what she was doing to me, whoo, the steam, right? The funk we had. But
get out of my mind, Mom.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and I didn't know.
Get out of my head.
I didn't know. I was my probation officer. Yeah, and he got me. He was like, "You're going to work or you're going to go to school?" And I'm like, "I can hustle and go to school. I'm going to sell some dope and go to school." Right? Ended up taking my first psychology class by force. Ended up loving it. I wrote my first psychology paper on the marketing of psychology because I was hustling. So I'm like, I might as well mix it, figure out,
find that good sales,
find that good, and I'm already doing it, right? So fell in love with psychology. Started learning about the prereqs. They introduce you to the pillars of the psychology world, and ended up going to the state. I was sentenced to, had an A and a B trafficking. They sentenced me to 10 years in the state. I was blessed to be able to, they took the remand off of drug traffickings because they were realizing that most drug dealers at that time were really users and they were just selling to use. A lot of people really don't have the thought process to run an enterprise. It takes a little more. I think people like everybody can do it. Like everybody can stand on the corner and get high and do it, but everybody can't turn it into, because it's more than just actually hand to hand.
Right.
It's a little more intricate than that.
Totally.
So they really started realizing that, and I got introduced to the cognitive design, man. And it just blew my mind, man. The lady asked a question. that just took me on a roller coaster. She said, "Who's worse, the pedophile or the drug dealer?" Blew my mind. Because I'm like, it's a room for a drug dealer. So we're like, the pedophile, duh. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course. And she asked a pivotal question. She's like, "So who has more victims?" And it was just like,
yeah,
because I was like 50. They got 50. You know what I mean? Like, it's not true. Like maybe 7 before their first incarceration. Like that's high. You know what I'm saying? To have that many victims. And then they broke it down. It was like, so every time you busted down an ounce and you sold it, like every stone you had a victim. And if you sold it to them again, you re-victimized them. I wasn't ready.
Yeah,
I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to be the boogeyman. I just wasn't. And I realized, like, there was no way that I could have thought about it from that perspective. It didn't click. It didn't register. I didn't see it like that, you know?
right.
Here's
Doesn't
another
seem
one.
quantifiable.
No,
when you're
like,
just
it's
when you're just trying to make
conceptualizing it.
money too. Like
I'm trying to survive. Like,
right.
what would you do if your arm was stuck between two boulders? You would chew through it to get it out, right? You're gonna do it. You got to do what you got to do to survive. I left home. What, 15? You know what I'm saying? 15. Right. And I graduated from high school homeless. When I walked off the stage, bro, I was back with the smokers again. You know what I mean? Like, it was back to the trap. There was no graduation dinner for me. You know what I mean? My family was there, but they saw me and then it was like, hey, have a, be great. You know what I'm saying? I went and had, what is it, Roman? I don't know, whatever was at the liquor store. Yeah, I had a good time. You know what I mean? Like, with the smokers and the homies, you know. And you know, that's where, you know, that indoctrination that came from. And I call it an indoctrination, but it's survival. Like, you will survive if you have the propensity to push past fear. Then your ability to survive is dangerous. If you can push past the propensity to fear. Like, some people, like, they could be about to die, right? A person can have a gun on them and they will not shoot the person. They will literally get killed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you have the ability to push past fear into, like, but you know, it's called courage. That's called bravery, right?
Sure.
But if it's not used in the right way, man, it's going to be detrimental. So, you know, that kind of became my story. And you get lost in it. My probation officer said, he said, I got caught with an assault rifle in a car. And he's like, "Oh, why you got this big old gun?" I'm like, you can have any gun you want. This is what he on me. Like, you can have this, you can have a 22, but you want to have an assault rifle with a 30-round magazine. It was an AK-47 in the back of this rental car. And I thought, I don't even want to tell you the story. It's stupid. So I'm talking to him and I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? He's like, tell me why you had this gun. So I'm like, I went to this party. It was after hours. It's like 2:00 in the morning. Like, of course I need a gun. Who wouldn't need a gun? So he's like, bro, make it make sense. Let me understand this. So what you're telling me is, you went to a place you knew you could be killed at to have fun.
And on top of that, I needed AK-47. You're like,
what? Right? So he crosses his arm and then he just looks at me. He's like, right? So I'm like, man, you don't understand. It was a white guy. Like, man, this white man don't understand my struggle. You know what I'm saying? He's like, okay, so Kyle, make it make sense. Would you go into a bank knowingly being robbed? No, that's stupid.
Right.
Long pause, crossed arms. You know what I'm saying? Like, he just looking at me like, I'm like, man, you don't understand what it's like being from Kansas City. Like, you just don't get my struggle, right? So we're going back and forth. I'm just not going to let him win, right? But I kind of feel where he's coming from, but I'm just not going to let him win, right? And then he asked me this pivotal question, and it blew my mind. He said, Kyle, does your mom carry a gun? I'm like, nah, she don't live the life that I live.
Then you're like, oh shit.
And then he crossed his arms. And he looked at me. You know what I'm saying? So I knew he had me. You know what I mean? I knew my thought process was off, but I just couldn't figure out, like, where it met it. You know what I mean? So when I got introduced to cognitive behavior modification, that's how I began to see, like, nah, like, I'm jammed up somewhere and I'm not going to get set free until somebody comes in and moves some things around. You know, anything set in motion will stay in motion until something with equal or greater force comes in and moves it out of its trajectory, right? So that's literally how, like, cognitive and neuroplasticity has to work. Like, you have to go in and be a big enough force to move people to off that thought process, man.
Create new neuronal paths or
Neurological
whatever.
pathways. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
So you were introduced to that while you were in prison, and just curious, because you were originally tied up in gang life, and usually, like, prisons, like, an environment where it's like you have to click up for
Mhm.
safety and stuff. Did you were you able to start this journey of kind of that self-transformation without that oppressive like you said, the crowd or voices of people like, oh man, that's bullshit, you should I guess I'm just how did you deal with that juxtaposition of I'm trying to learn how to better myself, but also
No, I was outcasted. I was outcasted. I was definitely outcasted because the issue that I had was it just makes sense, right? So this is how Lyrics even started. I couldn't figure out why I was the only one that understood it.
Hmm.
It just didn't make sense to me. Like, why? She just said we have more victims than this isn't rocket science, right?
Right.
And that's what started to perplex me, right? It was and y'all not really like that.
Right.
Like some of y'all, everybody that thinks that they really not like that. Not like that at all. You know what I mean? I've been shot. I've been shot in the chest, collapsed lung, stabbed twice. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I got whatever. Everybody ain't like that. You know what I'm saying? That especially comes from this game. And I think there's more people that are being like that now than it was back then. But I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, bro, y'all really scared. Y'all scared to death for real, because y'all are extremely loud. You're everything that you do is real animated. You're not moving as if you don't want to be caught. You know what I'm saying? And there's just more of those people than it is of the other ones that are really serious about what they're doing. They move different, they think different, their rage looks different. There are people like that. I'm not trying to say everybody ain't like that, but there's just a lot that's not. And I just found myself not even want to be associated with it. It just because the thought process was dumb to me. It wasn't equating. It just didn't make sense, right? Okay, so crack was introduced because I started reading more. So crack was introduced into our neighborhoods through cocaine. We ended up rocking it. The crack disparity was 100 to 1. So you could get caught with 100 ounces of cocaine to equal 1 ounce of crack cocaine. So we know we not bringing it in. You know what I'm saying? So wait a minute. You know what I mean? So I'm
totally
perpetuating
tipping the scales.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
I'm a part of the drug warfare. I'm part of it. But I'm standing here with this Black Lives Matter shirt on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm screaming, I'm here to save my people. I'm for my people. I'm black. I'm black. I'm black. But literally, I'm a part of the deconstruction of my own community. So the more I got into the understanding of it, bro, I started separating myself. And then crazy thing happened, man. I went to the state with the Class A, Class B trafficking. Didn't know I was being investigated for a conspiracy. So that's how I ended up in the feds. And ended up went from 4 months about to go home. The last week of that, I got shipped to the feds, and now I was facing 35 years. Sat in the county for 2 years, ended up getting blessed with 90 months. That 90 months got me shipped to Leavenworth. Leavenworth had the next cognitive behavior program, which was called Life Connections. And it was more intense. It was 18 months. So I just dove in. It was a blessing. And then I had the chance that's where I started my seminary journey. At Midwestern, went into the prison, actually brought real doctors in, you know what I mean, doctors of theology in to teach the classes, man. And I had an opportunity to sit there for I think I did 9 months working on my certificate of a divinity. And
I didn't know Midwestern Seminary did that. That's really cool.
It was so crazy. Yeah. This is just how good God was, man, bro. No lie. The chaplain was going for his doctor's degree in Midwestern, and he was just like, yo, we got to get this in here. We got a lot of guys that got a lot of time. So imagine being a seminary student with books and books and books and time and time and time and time. Like some of these guys were like Jedis with it. You know what I mean? Like I knew guys that could quote the Bible front and back, like easy without no book. You know what I mean? And then break it down in with contextual criticism. So it was an amazing journey, man. And ended up leaving there, going to another facility, learned more cognitive behavior modification. So then I became a student of it. And then I treated prison like college, man. Ended up getting up under some guys that did not-for-profit work, got up under some guys that did like trust funds, credit, all this stuff. Like when you go to a lower facility, you run into like white collar crime now. So white collar crime, a lot of the guys that are there, they just got too greedy. You know what I mean? They knew how to do it and maneuver it and make the grants do what they needed to do, and how to shell money and do all the stuff. And it's perfectly legal. You know, it's all loophole games,
Right.
But when you get too greedy, it becomes illegal. You know what I mean? So I studied them. And got home in 2019. Got home in 2019. I LLC Lyrik Institution in August of 2019. We got our non-for-profit status in 2020. We launched our program 2021. Man, and we have just been on the run, man. And we just recently got elevated to one of the premier programs that work with youth between 13 and 25. Our target market is high risk poverty, criminality, and violence. So them are the people that we serve up to 25.
Man, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just backtracking real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but my brother actually did time.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Over in Kansas, and just something that he shared with me that I think would resonate with you. You know, you were talking about the idea of rehabilitation. That's the selling point that prisons try to say that's what this is for. And he said, of course, that's all bullshit. Right. You're just a number. You're just a part of the cattle of that. You're a number that we have to give so many calories to keep alive.
Right.
And he said that prison's not a rehabilitation at all, but he said, if in his opinion, the best thing he could describe it was a mirror. It strips you of everything that you think you have or hold, and it forces you to see who, you know. And so if you don't want to see who you really are, or if you don't want to face that, then I'll go right back into the gang and I'll do all the same shit I was doing on the street.
That's good.
In prison. But if you look at yourself and see all the bullshit you've been doing, like you said that moment, like, oh shit. I don't know. That to me, it's like, it is both a systemic issue, you know, like the prison system, and like, I don't know, just the abuse and just the heartache of the shit he described, and just the neglect. I mean, even during the pandemic, because he was actually in there during the pandemic and stuff. But he said, you know, the only blessing he could count from it is that he basically kind of took the approach like what you shared, like he got his GED there. He was able to get a part-time, you know, or a full-time job and get bussed when he was when he was reduced from maximum to medium or minimum. And in everyone's circumstances, you know, he also had a lot of family support. You know, we put money on his books, we made phone calls, and it's a big difference. Like sometimes people lose hope in prison, but I guess I'm just curious, like for you, like with your faith, was that always like a core component while you're in prison that helped you do that self-reflection to kind of tie that in with your cognitive behavioral like research that you were starting in prison? Or was it something you kind of re-engaged with while you were in prison? I'm just curious what that.
So I want to say the cognitive design prepared me for Christianity, because what I ended up learning was that Christianity is behavior modification. It is intrinsic inspection. It's everything that neuroplasticity is. It's everything the cognitive behavior mod CB, like at its core. It's literally what it is. You know what I mean? Cognitive behavior, I think at its genesis is being able to take accountability, being able to first be able to take accountability from someone else, and then do intrinsic. So you're using everybody else's version of accountability to take the systems that they've created to give the accountability, and then you learn how to do it inside of you. So like I do accountability checks I do them so rapidly now because I've done it for so long. It's who I am, right? Yeah. And it's a gift and a curse because I get so irritated when other people don't take accountability, right? It's the worst thing oh man, a justification and thinking errors and thinking criminal thinking errors. They pick at me, right? But I will say my Christianity, it just opened up the door. I decided to follow instead of just know. When I was in CCA, it probably took me about like 4 or 5 months because I was facing 35 years and I didn't get my discovery. I didn't know why I was even in prison for like 6 months.
Oh man, that's the worst. Yeah, my
Yeah,
brother's same thing. They were telling me, you got 30 years,
yeah.
he's involved in a strong armed robbery situation, drug related. So
Mhm.
it was like, yeah, not similar, but it was like, yeah, he eventually got 9 years, but it was like, or 10 years, but yeah, he was also like that like, I mean, he was in county jails for like 2 years
See,
before
yeah,
he
you
was
got to
finally
fight.
sentenced.
You got to
Yeah.
fight. Right. But that's when I came to the end of myself. It was one of those moments where it was just like I can't get out of this. You know what I'm saying? The crack ratio is 0 to, like, it's impossible to get out of this. Like, you either you got to tell or you got to, jump out a window. You know what I mean? It's like there's no way to go home. Even if you tell, you still got to stay. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm,
some people still have to stay.
right.
Uh, it was just no way home, man. And that 35 years was like, man, I got a 3-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, God, I wanna live life. Like, this is not what I expected. You know what I mean? I thought if I do this part of the game, then I wouldn't get this amount of time, but I'm getting the same amount of time as if I was just Don Corleone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so,
You're like,
so
I had made Don Corleone
yeah,
money.
I
It
should
would have
have,
been a different thing.
right. You know what I
It's
mean?
like, no.
And it's so crazy because if you had the Don Corleone money, then you could fight. But
Right.
you're giving me time, and really, you're not giving me time to rehabilitate me. You're really putting that time in front of me because you want me to collapse something else. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really a pawn. You know what I'm saying in this scheme, and I can understand it when we're playing political chess, but those numbers are humans. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think that's where it kind of gets rough. But um, you said something. I want to double back to it. It's the inhumane part or the rehabilitation part, right? So rehabilitation is returning a person back to what they were. So to our point earlier, like, if you didn't have this stuff, what are you returning a person back to? So really, you're just housing them, right?
Mm,
So abilitation is more the cognitive approach, right? And that's taking them somewhere they've never been. Right. Like, I didn't know that this lifestyle was here. I didn't know that budgeting was like this. I didn't know that strategic planning or the 0 hour was like this. There's just things I just did not know. And the hard part is when you're dealing with habilitation in the cognitive design, like how we create cognitions, we only create cognitions off of solutions that actually work. So you're telling somebody that's 30 or 40 years old that's been doing this exact same thing all their lives, the way that they've been solving these problems is wrong when they have so much concrete evidence that it does actually work. It may cause problems every now and then, but predominantly, you know what I'm saying, it generally works, right? um and that's like borderline trying to break a 40-year-old horse. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I've
right.
been free for so long. What do you mean get on my back? I guess, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Um, and I think that's where the disconnect comes from. So that's one part of it. That's the mentality or the paradigm shift part. But your brother was 100% right, because there's the truth is you're going to learn something in prison. Now,
Right.
what you choose to learn is up to you, but you're going to learn something in prison, right?
Yeah.
So the issue that I have with the industrial complex is it's violent.
Mm,
Not the people are violent. The system itself is violent.
yes.
It itself is dehumanizing in such a way that it creates the violence in which it begets. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
So my struggle with what it is now, because I get the principle of it shouldn't be fluffy.
Mm,
I get that, right? But it doesn't have to be in it,
dehumanizing.
it
Hmm.
doesn't, right? So, like, when you walk in, when you first come in, they spray you, right? They spray you with the insect, the insect repellent thing, right? It's a pump thing. You know what I'm saying? The same thing they do with cattle, right? They pump it and then they spray you and they put this powder on you and then you go into the what's the name. So what the cognitive design has helped me understand is objectivity, right? So I got to be able to see this thing from the bird's eye view, right? Okay, so why is this important? Well, we don't want to carry mites, we don't want to carry insects, we want to carry diseases into the prison because it's an isolated place. Epidemics can happen in small place. This is where, when you house people together, this is where that happens at, right? Okay, cool. All right, so how can I, like, at the same time, I felt going through it, I felt like cattle.
Yeah.
I felt inhuman. It when the water, when that cold spray hit me, I seen them coming down the line. I'm like, no, no. There's no way. There's no way that this is happening right now. Right? I'm
Yeah.
butt naked in a line getting sprayed.
Yeah. It's like a
What?
yeah, that's
What?
yeah.
Right? And you're
Like
tripping with me because there's a kid at the end of this thing. He shook. Like he shook. You can tell. Like he probably was getting high. You know what I'm saying? Or stole something. Like I don't. Whatever he did. He's not for this. Whatever he did, he shouldn't be here for this. Right? Um, man, shaking. He's like, and they spray him, and he just goes into shock. Like he's just like his shake got worse. It was just like I was kind of geared. I was getting prepared for this because of the street life. You know what I'm saying? So like, but what about the people that ain't never been through that type of survival things? You know, so it was the inhumanity. It was like when you go to a visit, you got to get strip searched. Let's look at the objectivity.
right.
People are carrying stuff in and out, but at the same time, you were actually stripping me naked, touching some of the most private parts of my body. Now, what you don't know is who's been touched and who hasn't been touched, and who are you triggering and who you're not triggering, right?
Right.
So it's the inhumanity of one, the guards. Some of the guards don't even see you as human, right? Like you're the
Right.
scum of the earth. You're just here. You know what I mean? Like the system itself is flawed, and it just needs to be reconstructed, man. And it needs to be geared towards abilitation. It just mandatory has to be there. Like you don't have a. I don't think you should have a choice to be habilitated. I just
Mm,
don't. I think going to prison, because prison could be college. And then here's the crazy part about some of the Americans in the world. They like, no, they shouldn't go to college. Why can they go to jail and get a free ride to college?
right.
Golly, you. That's because people don't really understand what you're lacking when you go into prison.
Mm,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're giving them a college degree. Here go great statistic. Um, I think it was in '98 or something like that. In Detroit, they gave these guys all of these skills, like trades, taught them how to build all this stuff, do all this stuff, plumbing, all of the above. Gave them all of this stuff. They recidivated higher than the people that didn't go to the classes.
no way, really.
Recidivated higher because they were getting the higher end jobs and didn't have the emotional intelligence to deal with
Mm,
the managers, or didn't know how to deal with the money. They didn't understand budgeting. They didn't understand the social emotional aspect of it. So when they got fired, they went right back to what they were doing. Or when it got too heavy for them, or they didn't understand accountability, they went right back to what they did. Or they assaulted the guard, or they did, you know what I'm saying? Or they were
right.
arguing with the probation officer and got sent right back because they had no inner skills. You know what I'm saying? The
Totally. Wow.
so
I'm gonna have to read into that. That's yeah, it's just fascinating. Just like you said, it's a holistic approach that the prisons are never gonna even attempt to
no.
try to do. They're gonna just do the bare minimum of like, and like you said, it's always like, well, we'll just throw more money into like the programs of like
Mhm.
get a degree. Well, if I get the degree and don't have any other like you said, like other social emotional intelligence, people skills, all that has to be, and all it has to be incorporated. And it's
Right.
man, and I don't know if you could just share a little bit like what is like the overall like study of kind of behavioral like therapy, like
Mhm.
what like, so you're in seminary right now,
Mhm.
but like how does that inform like what you do with the students, like with the kids, like with, I mean, you've talked about it with like um it's reshaping new neuronal pathways and
Mhm.
stuff, but like I don't know, you've talked about like uh and if you guys go to their website, the Lyrics Institution .org, you can like there's like poetry, there's all these
Mhm.
elements of the creative set. So I'm just curious, like how does all that, it's not just like for you it's very much tied to like your spiritual beliefs,
Mhm.
but it's also how that translates for I'm assuming there's also kids in their program who are maybe irreligious, or
Mhm.
like maybe they find more of an outlet through their creativity. So I'm just curious, like how does that overall tie into like the cognitive behavioral
For
like
sure.
transformation
For
process?
sure. So so I'm gonna do the Christian side, the way side first, right? So Christ talks about the whitewashed tombs, right? He said, "What's the point in having the outside dressed up if the inside is dead?" Right. So if you innately, what he's saying is, if you change the inner man, right, the outer man automatically changes. What it's not what goes out of the man that defiles him, it's what goes in him, right? So what happens in neuroplasticity is it's uprooting neurological pathways. So what it does is you have to till the ground, you have to soften the ground, and then you have to pull pieces of the thought process out. Like, so if I want to stop somebody from stealing a coat, there's so many antecedents, there's so many pieces that are connected to that thought process. It's not just about stealing the coat, right?
Right.
It could be about to stay warm. It could be about um, class. It could be about protection. It could be about style. It could be about proving something to some people that you don't want to get. It could be about survival. Like, don't jump me because I'm bad and I'll steal a coat, right? So them are all like consequences to it. Them are not like the antecedents, right?
Right.
Not the pre-thoughts that arrived that brought me to, is it okay to steal a coat? You know what I mean? Um, so that's the part that ties in the belief system to the neuroplasticity. So the example that I give that tries to like dumb it down is, if we go through a situation when we're 7 years old, 8 years old, we're going to come up with a solution to it. Easy. Well, the problem is when you're in survival mode, what you do is you won't revisit that solution because you have 50,000 other solutions that you got to come up with. So that one solution becomes the solution. And then we carry a 7-year-old or a 14-year-old solution into our adulthood. And that doesn't work when we're adults.
Right.
It works when we're young. So what we got to do is we got to go in and we got to uproot it. So when we say in Christianity that we were born and shaped in iniquity, we were born with this bent inclination. Well, what it is our parents or our mothers, when they had us, um, their version of love was maybe 22 years old, 30 years old. You know what I mean? Well, by the time 10 years, 12 years later, their ideal with love is completely different, right?
Yeah.
But we learned their corrupted version of love,
Right.
and now
Exactly.
their version, that corrupted version where they had to grow out of, is our core belief of what it is. So then from that point, we got to transition out. So that we got to go in and uproot some of that stuff, though. You know what I mean? So that's where that's where they converge at for me, right? Um,
We all have
what
an inner child basically in our adult meat suits.
Yeah, for real talk.
Yeah.
Clinically, they just call it a cultural design. That's your cultural design. You know what I mean? And you
Mm.
got to go in and reshape your cultural design. So in Christianity, you got to go reshape your. And when I was a child, I thought like a child, but when I became a man, I started to reason. You know what I'm saying? It's
Totally.
it's that notion. So that's how I transition it. And then once I start seeing people like being able, because there's a part where you got to get to a place where you're not in control. So then that's when that conversation of belief system kind of like pops up. So then we kind of have that back and forth, and then I start planning. If they're leaning that way, then I'll lean that way with them. So that's this whole thing is my ministry. That's what
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be in a pulpit. You know what I mean? I'm a teacher. That's my spiritual gift. This is what I teach. And you know this is my jam, man. I've been called to high level poverty, criminality, and violence. I've been gifted wisdom in it. I've been gifted the ability to articulate some things, and the ability to research, man. And God has really been. It's been a journey. It's been a journey, but like this is my calling.
It's powerful, man.
Yep.
I wanted to read a quote. This was from the article when we did our interview for DocuCourse.
Okay.
You said, our programs are people-centered and focus on building relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We're working in Kansas City public schools, the juvenile courts, and we're moving into the state and city courts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Policies are being made by these institutions that are removed from community issues and people's lived experiences. It's our job to bridge that gap and keep young people out of the legal justice system altogether. So can you just share a little bit about how Lyrik's institution and Exile Promotions and Consulting are doing this work to like reverse these systemic issues, or at least, like you said, maybe the systemic issues are a really big thing to tackle, but you can do it through the lives of these individuals.
Right.
Like, how are you doing that? Like,
so the bridge is, so when we go to college, we conscious or unconscious, we get indoctrinated. It's just the way it is, man. So like we take Timbuktu or we take Egypt, right? People will come from all over the world and come to this one place and get this education. But we got to remember that the education has to be approved, right? It has to be approved by the country it sits in, right? So
Right.
they want you to arrive at a place or at an understanding that is conducive for the society, right? Um, so what happens is people aren't going through that system. So when we get into industry, there's a disconnect, right? So like people don't know how to separate uh their family and their home culture from business culture, right? They're just two totally different things. And when people arrive in business culture and they don't mesh and jam well, they're not heard, they're not understood. People don't come into most settings understanding intro, body, conclusion. Just don't.
Oh, I see. Like in a like writing
Yeah,
format. Gotcha.
even though because some people have been through it so long, they don't even understand it's right. It's past writing. This is how
Mm.
we communicate. Like I need you to arrive at something. I understand. Like black pastors, sometimes they just got stories. They just got stories. And sometimes they don't even close them, right? But everybody in the congregation is like, I get it. Like I understand. And then there's some people that was like, what happened?
Where do we land the plane?
Where did we land? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's literally a disconnect. You know what I mean? And I think what makes me really, really good at the work that I do is because I'm self-educated, right? I was introduced to college, but I didn't get to finish college. So majority of my education is by myself, picking up multiple um multiple bodies of information, multiple scholars, you know what I mean, from just different places. So I don't have the the barriers that some people have. So my
Mm.
solutions are always like, oh, those are genius. I'm like, no, they're pretty basic to me. You know what I'm saying? It's just because we're boxed in. So when they come up with
Mm.
solutions, I'm like, oh my God. Like, they're like, yeah, I just learned this when I was in school. I was like, oh my God, that's like 200 years of information you just spit out in 7 seconds. You know what I'm saying? Like their version of a pilot. Like I've worked with JA. They were like, yo, this is how we do pilots. I'm like, you guys got a lot of money. You guys can make a lot of mistakes. I can't make that many mistakes. Like my pilots are crisp. Like they're dang near real programming. They're not pilots, you know? So that's what we do, man. We work with the young adults and we create that bridge and we let them know, like, okay, this is what you're missing. This is what you didn't know. This is what you're about to get into. Uh, this is how you don't lose your authenticity when you walk over there, because
Mm.
you can lose your authenticity and you'll get over there and you'll have a culture clash and you'll be like, oh, they're racist. No, they're not racist. You're not the same. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Just because you're black don't make you the same. Just because you're white don't make you the same. You know what I'm saying? There's
Right.
different thought processes in different cultures, right? So, but when we get into corporate America, because America is predominantly white, like we're all automatically assuming that I have to be white to fit in, and that's not even the case. That's not the case at all. America is like we call it the melting pot for a reason, because it adopted so much from so many places. America is young, right?
Mm.
In itself, right? So
Right.
it's adopting so many things from so many places to create this understanding, right? So you got to be able to come in and see it as a nation amongst other nations instead of the only nation, because it's the big bad America. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? And sometimes a lot of people from poverty. I'm not even gonna say blacks, just poverty, because there's
Right.
whites that go through the same
Sure.
issue too.
Right.
They get to big bad corporate America, they get to big bad industry, and they're like, America. You know what I'm saying? But like, yo, it's industry too. This same business is over in Yugoslavia. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're figuring it out too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so it's just, man, we just got to see ourselves. So that's what we do, man. We create the bridge. We till the ground. In a nutshell, Lyrics goes in, we till the ground, and we have strategic partners that come in and plant seeds. We don't believe in the caseworker philosophy where we got one person doing 50 jobs. We want to
Mm.
find the person that's doing that job extremely well, right? And then once we identify through our curriculum, that the curriculum that I designed, once we run through the career pyramid or find out what their passion is, then we assign them specifically to what it is that they want to be, uh, what they want to be in, what they want to thrive in. So that gets them direct access. It would be more. aligned, if we want to say, to more so like an apprenticeship
Mm.
kind of thing or a trade skill, but more so for the culture, the things that they actually want to do. So that's where the creative arts pieces come in. Like, how do you want to express yourself? So we
Right.
create internships that the culture wants to do: videography, photography, recording engineering, marketing, um, brand ambassadors, podcast, and like the list could go on and on. So if we introduce it, because I'm more concerned about the work ethic and getting them to learn the social emotional skills and the relationship pieces that you
Mm.
really need. The in Indy, I don't care where you go in the end. I need to get this information to you. How do I keep you here while I teach it through something that you already want to do? So that's how because that's what I'm more worried about, the principle. Yeah, you can do it. I don't care. Like, you know what I mean?
The ability to get out there and gather knowledge and
I
build
gotta teach that.
at what you're wanting to create in this world.
Exactly.
That's amazing, man. And like I loved what you said earlier too, just about the idea of like that doesn't mean you have to lose your authenticity or that part that makes you you. You know,
Mhm.
like I think that is some like one could definitely say about, you know, white supremacist like economic America is that it is in some ways like we need you to be the same suit and tie, the same
Mhm.
bland vanilla
Right.
of whatever accountant or this or that, and we have to shake that up as far as like understanding that like you said, there is like a business culture kind of
Mhm.
sense that we all have to like, okay, this is how we do these presentations. There's a beginning, middle, end. It helps
Yeah.
us. So, but at the same time, like,
That's not new though.
yeah, right.
Like Greek, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
Greek is the money language. Well, back then was the money language.
Right.
Everybody, when they went to the marketplace, they spoke Greek because it was a business culture, right? It's no different. Like, so I love this. The guy said this. He was like, everybody has colorful language, but we just pick and choose where we have that colorful language. And it's so shocking when people have that colorful language in the business culture. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, there's rules, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Like, people
Right.
will look at you as if you're ashamed, but go home and be like, shit. You know what I'm saying? Be like,
Right.
oh, now you
But if
got
you're
all this
Elon
colorful.
Musk, you can say whatever the fuck you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
You know, so
Well,
that's the other thing is like when you have money and power, then
yeah.
it's suddenly, oh, you
When you got $1 million on your cash app, you can pretty much say what you want to
know,
say.
say whatever you want to say.
Right.
Well,
But
that's cool what you're doing with the the students and
I appreciate it,
young
man.
adults, and just curious, what is your consulting, what does that work look like?
So that's the bridging part. That's the getting. So what we do is all our internships, we consult with local Black businesses, or yeah, really local Black businesses, man, in Black and brown. I think I'm called to poverty. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like the under marginalized. Like
Yeah.
I'm for Black BIPOC. I'm for the culture,
Sure.
110%, right? But I understand that like you can't fight this thing isolated. You just can't, because you'll prepare one and then you'll gradually bring somebody else up. But like we can do it. We can walk and chew bubble gum, right? So
What's the saying, when the tide rises all boats rise, or something
almost,
like, yeah,
yeah. You
like
know what I
I hear
mean?
what you're saying, like if we can focus on the most marginalized, we can lift everybody up. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
because being broke is above cultural lines, believe that, right? So the consulting piece, that's where we was going. So what we do is we create these micro businesses, and the kids, like, so we got red dot imagery, that's the photography and the videography. We have pivot, which is the clothing, the design part. We have our marketing component. We have our recording engineering and all of that. All of our businesses need all of these services that are in the city, right? And they need it at a high quality. So the young adults, they go in and they do internships and they get contracts. Like our for photography class, their project was to do the shoemakers, one of our grantors, uh, gala,
Hmm.
and the Shoemaker Foundation paid them to shoot the gala. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
they
that's
got
sick.
they were able to get paid for it, right? So that's the consulting. Like we work with Gift KC. We partner with them to say like, yo, what do your businesses need? Let our young
Hmm.
adults be able to provide some of these services for them, and help them elevate themselves while our young adults are building their own industries. with us. So
yeah, shout out to Brandon and Cornell, all them at
yeah,
Gift.
those my guys.
I had Cornell on the show.
Cornell's my guy.
A couple episodes ago. Yeah.
Yeah. This is his jam.
Oh
like,
yeah.
This is what he does.
We've been having a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's shooting a commercial I'm going to be in for his Kansas City, My City apparel.
Okay.
So I'm going to be.
I had a shirt. I did the shirt little modeling thing for him.
That's what I'm excited. I want my free
this guy's
shirt.
connected. You see what I'm saying? Like y'all don't know who y'all listening to.
I'm just like I want that free shirt. He's like if I was like, you want to come out and film? And I was like, yeah. I think okay. Here's what's funny. This is I have to tell you. I'm reading his script, and I can't wait to like talk to him about it. So the script, the scene is Micah is walking by the plaza fountains to show the active what is it called? What did it say? The active lifestyle of Kansas City people. And I'm just like, I'm gonna make my dad bod, like I'm here. I'm supposed to be representing the active, like energetic exercise life of Kansas City. So I'm like, I'm gonna bring my dog, my dog Rayla, my shepherd. I'm gonna like get some sweatbands. No, I'm not really, but I'm just gonna go a little above, mid, thigh shorts.
There you go.
Just like I'm gonna strut my dad bod, active Kansas City lifestyle. Aren't I the epitome of just like
the headband and the wristbands, bro?
I might wear a bandana, just like do the more. Hippie kind of,
and stay in the house for about like a week or two so you can be super pale out there. Go perfect.
Just immediately get a sunburn. The 10 seconds I'm out there filming with him. I'm like, it'll be fun. It'll be definitely worth it. And that's what I'm like, yeah.
Or just wear pants so the top is tanned and the bottom is not.
Exactly. White legs,
right?
But like super red arms,
there
and
red
go. Face. I was like, well, yeah, I like support. Like
people would understand. They were late. They were like, yeah, I get it. That's business culture. That's right. That guys wear suits all day.
That man is gonna go eat a bunch of barbecue after this walk. Like if I really want to capture the essence of Kansas City, like look how active a lifestyle he is. Now he needs to get pumped full of meat, like
and sauce.
Me and my active lifestyle and cardiovascular issues, Be praying for me, everybody. Be praying for me and my dog.
For real. St. Luke's is up the street.
I'm going to be out there in 100-degree weather representing Kansas City's active lifestyle exercise.
You are active in Kansas City if you're walking outside at any point in time. Like you're losing weight. It's hot.
Yeah. Well, one last question. Kind of going a little deep here for a second. Mm-hmm. Just I guess because I know you have kids. How many kids do you have? 3. And you obviously work with young adults, and your journey of like pursuing a life that is like dedicated to like really investing in people and doing that through a faith-based, like through your Christian, like love and acceptance. Like, what do you hope for lack of better words, what would be the thing you want written on your tombstone? Like, what is it about your faith journey? If you want, maybe it's too deep a question. Might take a second to like think about it. But if you're going to go into the gates, in the afterlife, or if there was something that you're going to leave behind, your legacy, so to speak, what is it that you're hoping to like? What is that you're hoping that impact would be or look like?
Above all else, I want to be convicted of being a Christian. I don't want not one person to question if I was a believer.
Yeah.
I just don't. That's my greatest ambition. Like when I go to church, I wear my ball caps, my white t-shirts, my Jordans, I want people to know, like, yo, God is closer than what you think he is. And he's right there with you, no matter how you're arriving at that, right? Like, that's my biggest thing, man. I want to be a fragrant aroma. I'm not always the best. I fall short of the glory of God faithfully. But it's a difference between perfection and progression. I enjoy my sanctification walk, and it's between me and him. and like people may not understand it, people may not believe it, but regardless, however the dominoes fall, however the cookie crumbles, he was a believer. He said it. If I don't think he was, at least he said it. You know what I mean? And his actions showed that. So that's one thing that I definitely want to walk away with. My other one is he fought against evil. And I believe that, man. I believe the fights that we fight right now are the systems, man. Like we gotta push back against these systems. What does he say? The wars that we fight are not about people, but principalities. And principalities are systems that have been put in place, and they've been standing for a very long time. So when I fight against poverty, when I fight against criminality and violence, I'm not fighting a person. I'm not here to send nobody to jail. You know what I mean? I'm not here to send nobody to hell. I'm not here to persecute or anything like that. I'm here to change your thought process, right? Like I'm here to shift you out of that. You know what I mean? Like, yo, you don't have to be here. You can choose it. I get why you choose it. I chose it. I fully understand why you're choosing it. It's just not the only choice. And that is my fight. That's what I want on there. Like, he fought well, right? Like, he fought well. He ran the marathon and he fought well. Like, that's all that I ask, man. And I swear I want to die I want to die like that. Like, it's a different feeling to walk into a school and like they gotta get on the intercom to make the kids go to class. You know what I'm saying? Because like you're the guy, like, oh snap, like bro, like Kyle's here, like da 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 da. And I'm hard. I'm a hard man, especially when it comes to kids. Like I don't play. I'm serious, and sometimes it causes problems. You know what I mean? But 2 months later, they're gonna come back. They're gonna be like, thank you for structure. Thank you for loving me enough to tell me I was wrong, bro. Like I didn't see it. You know what I mean? And they come back, man, and they get up under my arms, and they're just so happy to see me. Because I fight for them. I fight with them. I fight for them. I fight well. You know what I mean? And that was my hardship today with God. Was like, oh, it's this grant life is serious. I don't always know what I'm doing. Why is it so hard to fight against Satan? Why are you making it so hard for me to fight against Satan? And he answered me later on in the day, man, and his answer was genuinely, God designed you for it.
Wow.
I know it's a long answer, but that is definitely.
No, that's like beautiful. That's beautiful. Like it speaks exactly to everything what we want to do here on the show, and like the guests that we have. Like, just I want to get to the essence of who you are and like what is your faith journey. What is it? And I've had folks who are atheists on the show who have like this same kind of just love for humanity and want to see right and correctness happen in the world. And I think it's powerful what you're doing. And like when God, when the Spirit moves, man, it changes people's lives, and I'm kind of more of an agnostic, not sure. I feel that vibration, gotcha. I feel like I connect when I'm with, I feel like I'm having church with you, gotcha. That's kind of like, gotcha. That's my faith journey that I'm still trying to process and live out. What projects you have coming up this year? Anything major? I know you just were mentioning some grants and stuff. So you got stuff you're trying to apply for, trying to get some things in the works?
Yeah, man, we're working, especially with the grants. Just trying to get really funded. Like not kind of funded. I want to get really funded. But it's a journey. And for real, man, like you said something, and I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but like, he's not. I used to think that God was like stopping the money from flowing. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I don't ever think that it's a person stopping my money from coming. Like, cause I get fed, like I live in grant world. So like, if God don't provide, I don't eat. Right. But my biggest issue was like, I kept badgering God, like, why wouldn't you just give me the money? Like, why wouldn't you just, like, you see the work that I'm doing. You see that I got these employees, I got all of this stuff going on, but like, why don't you love me enough? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, tell me what I'm doing wrong. In that language, why don't you love me enough? What am I doing wrong? That's none of that is genuine relationship. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big difference between intentionally wanting to hurt somebody and then having to do the hard thing for somebody, right? And what he told me was, because I want this house. I've been incarcerated. Like, predominantly a big chunk of my life, of my years where I could have had my feet on the ground, preparing myself for now. And he was like, Kyle, like, I love you enough that, like, you really don't understand the way I designed you. And that's really my issue. Like, I have this infinity for rain. It's this thing about rain, right?
Yeah.
And he nudges me towards that. He's like, I created you. Your love for rain is not by chance, it's by design, because I created you for the storm. And you're trying your hardest to get out of the storm, and I'm trying to teach you how to dance in the storm. I'm teaching you how to walk on the storm. I'm teaching you how to survive through the storm. And you don't even see the very thing in which you love the most is the very thing that I want you to strive in and thrive in. Everybody can't dance in the rain. And what he's saying is to me is, I was like, God, so are you saying I can't have like the house that I want or the car that I want? He's like, nah, the issue that you're having is you want the things to give you peace, and they'll never give you peace. That's the only reason I'm not giving it to you. It's like, you can have them, but I need you to first understand that the relationship that I want with you is where the peace becomes, right? It's so humbling that now I'm at this place where, okay, so if you chose me and you're true to what you say, then you got to provide for me, big dog. You got to, big homie. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make any sense. Like, otherwise, why would you even choose me? You could have left me and I could have been balling, selling dope and not even caring. I could have been Don Corleone and Frank Lucas wrapped in one. I could have been the whole mafia, right? But no, like you made, every time that I went on a mission, you made the tire blow, right? Like, key perfect instance, bro. 4 dudes got killed on the corner I was standing on, literally that morning. Only reason I wasn't there was because a lug nut was stripped on my oil pan and I couldn't get it off, and it took me like 4 extra hours. I literally showed up, and that's when the homicide, the A&E show was in Kansas City. The detective show was in Kansas City. Literally, if you go back to it, the same corner, 27th and Prospect, right there on the corner, I literally stood there. If anybody knows Kyle Hollins or Thizzle, literally was right there. I knew the guys that got shot and everything. If it wasn't for a lug nut, like not a lug nut, but a screw, you know what I'm saying? So what he kind of taught me was this. So like Kyle, I love you enough. I love you enough to save you from all of that. What I want you to do from this point on is, bro, like, get rid of the distractions, bro. Hang out with me, bro. Hang out with me. Like, I love you enough to just like, bro, hang out with me. And when I say the last 4 weeks of my life has been transformatively different, it's not by chance that I'm having this conversation with you, because I just came out of some stuff, man. Like, I took 36,000 of my own dollars, man, and put it into the program. Like, because I was just stressing, struggling, trying to figure out how to do these things, bro. And what I was doing is I was adding more stuff to my plate instead of taking things off my plate, because I felt like I needed to be the one that solved the problem. But that's me drowning in the water, you know what I'm saying? Not wanting to dance in the rain. I want it so comfortable that I'm willing to put my own money up, bro. You know you were broke when Netflix don't work. When you subscribe, when you go to Netflix and $9.99 is not working, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was that broke, bro. Man, and then to your point about the grant, man, guy came through, man, and after like heavy toil, heavy pressure, man, United Way granted us the highest amount. It was 50,000. It's not one of our biggest grants, but it's one of the pivotal grants that we needed to carry us into the next season, to keep the work going that we did, man. He showed up, showed out for me, but it wasn't because I did anything. It's actually only because I stopped doing stuff. And I just went on this sabbatical this past week before here. I went to Osceola to the tiny cabins, got locked away, and realized like I'm start dumping stuff, bro. I stopped dumping stuff, deleted Facebook, deleted Instagram. Only thing I got is TikTok and LinkedIn, you know, because TikTok is by algorithms good. It's the only thing safe for me right now, right? Yeah, but yeah, bro, that's so right now just stacking grants right now, learning how to slow down the program, because into any non-for-profit people, let me give you just a quick advice real quick. One, find a mentor to get up under, find somebody to partner with for your legacy, let them be your fiscal sponsor before you dive off in it yourself. There's so much to learn. And then part 2 is you're going to go through the first 5 years of hell because grantors want to know that they can trust you, and they want to know if you have expertise, but it takes money to get trust and expertise.
Right.
So it's like a wicked cycle. So this is the advice that I'm going to give you. Yo, put in the work until the work works you. And once it works you, stop, document. If you didn't take a picture of it, it didn't exist. If you didn't collect data, it didn't happen.
Right.
Document. And there will be a point when you can stop. You can take 4 months because people know that you're serious. You've done the pilot work. It took me 4 years to do this. Stop. Write your strategic plan. Nail down your program. You've done all the work. You know why the whys. You know why the wheels squeak the way that they squeak. You know everything about what you're doing. Stop. Write your strategic plan. Don't let anybody write your strategic plan without you knowing why and how your program and organization works, because it will not be your organization. It's going to be somebody else's idea. If you want to found it and build it and make it last for you and what you believe, that is the advice that I'm giving you.
I'm glad you've been able to get away for a little bit, do your sabbatical, get that perspective. Because like you said, this is a long distance, this isn't a marathon, and if you don't, like you said, I've been a part of the nonprofits where we're just like ragtailed through the wind, man. Like what this grant wants, we'll do that. We'll do this.
Chasing grants.
You're just chasing.
You're a whore.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, we were.
I was that too. I did it for a year, bro.
We were grant whores,
That was it. Smacking my cheeks.
And you got to know, okay, here's our purpose, here's our vision.
Gotta narrow it down.
We're gonna find the shit that's gonna make that money make sense, make our story and our legacy, like you said, happen. And yeah, man. Congrats on getting the the United Way gig, and go ahead and just share where folks can find you online.
For sure, man.
I know you're not on Facebook and Instagram.
Well,
personal accounts.
Yeah,
personal
right. Well, they're there. They're there, for my binge moments and it's so sad because once I get on it, I'm like giggity. You know what I'm saying? About nothing. But yeah, you can definitely find us on Instagram, Lyrics Institution. On Instagram, it's easy, pops right on the same way with Facebook. You can find us online at lyricsinstitute.com. I should have did .org. I was new to the game, bro. Didn't know what was going on.
Oh, I said .org earlier. So
yeah, but I always got I'll let people go. I'll let people go. You know what I'm saying? Because it was my stupidity. Like you just grew up in the .com world, so you're official with a .com.
Right, exactly.
But that's definitely communications.
Yeah.
Org is organization. So yeah, it's lyricsinstitute.com. But you can email me info at lyricsinstitute.com. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on all platforms. If you want to see some of the content, the one-on-one content, some of the classroom content, go to TikTok, look up Power Moves, type in Kyle Hollins, and you'll see. I think it's Power Moves 94. You'll see some really impactful content, and a lot of that content is directly out of my devotionals that I have with God. Like we be beefing, I be cussing at him. He laugh at me. He laughs at me like my poor baby.
You're one of the 7 people that I chose.
But I'm not.
I might have to change my mind today.
You know what I'm saying?
The way you're talking to me today.
You know what I'm saying? Like one of them people gonna let that hatch open. You're gonna fly out this joint. But yeah,
well, let's hope.
Them are my handles.
Let's hope God doesn't choose to send you to hell tomorrow.
He loves me. If he does, he better come and get me. Because I'm telling somebody. I'm gonna be in hell. But if I'm never going to hell. First of all, that's not gonna happen. Secondly, if I did, I would be so annoying. I'd be like, it's hot. Like, can we please turn up the air? I would ask for quick trip ice all day.
At least your version of hell is just hot. Yeah, the version's
nah, that's Dante's Inferno. That's not even real.
Well, let's just hope that's how it is. It sounds like people just make sure you're praying for Kyle and I.
Please.
Hopefully, God doesn't change his mind. Send us to hell.
Please. And don't, when you pray, just be chill on all the patience prayer. Yeah, all the strength. I hope he
God's really good at answering those ones, right?
Yeah, right. Because he doesn't drop those in your pocket, right? You know what I'm saying? He's like, oh, I'm gonna give him a situation to be patient in.
Oh, you're not patient today? Well, tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
guess you're going to go to hell. Teach your patience down
There
there.
you go.
No.
Yeah, right. Let's sit you down there, right?
Well, hey, y'all, make sure to follow Pray for Micah. Well, first of all, make sure you go and check out all the Lyrics Institution, all the stuff, and
please do.
Send them some love. Send them, give them some money. Do all the good things you can.
Donation tab.
And
reoccurring donation tab.
Pray for Micah doesn't have that yet.
You can donate it at Lyrics and we'll get it to Micah.
We're just gonna do some money laundering here for Micah.
We're gonna send it straight to GoFundMe.
One of these days I'll get a Patreon or something set up. But in the meantime, just show your love, share the show episode, follow, subscribe, smash that like button.
Smash it.
Pray for Micah Pod on all your socials. And
smash it now.
And above all, be praying for us.
Please.
Till next time. Thanks for joining me for the Pray for Micah podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. And check out my YouTube channel and follow me on social media. Pray for Micah Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.
You are now re-entering the normal world.